Hello and welcome back to RBY Pokemon Challenges. We are in the middle of our Brock Minimum Battles series, where we are playing in Pokemon Yellow with all 151 Pokemon up to Brock on Minimum Battles. We are entering the later half of this series. Already we've done about 90 Pokemon, and we've seen some pretty awesome battles against Brock. But at this point, we're getting to the Pokemon that are really the most likely to be champions at the end of this entire series. We won't finish with Brock, of course. We're going to move on to Misty, Lieutenant Surge, all the way through the middle game, and we're going to see how many can even beat the champion at the end of the game on minimum battles. Of course, no glitches, no items in battle, no other Pokemon except our starter in battle are the basic rules. Now, we're 6 episodes in already. This is episode 7. If you haven't seen them all, like, subscribe, follow our channel so that you can get all of our content. So, why minimum battles? We say it every time, but minimum battles puts all Pokemon on a level playing field, and it really separates the champions from the wannabes. In this case, there is no grinding to get past challenges. You can't just say, oh, I can't beat Brock at level 6. I guess I have to go back and grind until I get to level 15 so that I can beat him. No, that's not how we're playing this game, because if you were playing this game seriously, trying to get through as quickly as possible, you're not going to spend 15 hours grinding with an Abra to just be able to beat the first 3 gym leaders. That wouldn't make any sense. Instead, minimum battles puts the focus on strategy and movesets. We have to make good decisions in order to win. It makes better content for you guys, and it actually tells us which Pokemon are best for a playthrough of the game. This is different than maybe the RBY, Smogon meta or something like that, because there are some really powerful late game Pokemon that can't stand up to the beginning of the game. We've already seen that with Alakazam, one of the most powerful Pokemon in Generation 1, but because of its terrible starting moveset in Yellow version, it starts only with Teleport and Kinesis. It wasn't able to get through Brock. It was impossible to do that. So, this is why we do this kind of challenge. So, let's look at who we've already played with so far and gotten through. It's a very nice list of Pokemon. Of course, the Bulbasaur line, Charmeleon Charizard, the Squirtle line, Butterfree, Pidgeotto, Pidgeot, Arbok, Surfing Pikachu, and Surfing Raichu. Yes, those are legitimate Pokemon in Generation 1. All you had to do was play through Pokemon Stadium and you could get your Surfing Pikachu. Nidoqueen, Nidorino, Clefable, Ninetales, Oddish, Gloom, Vileplume, of course, Venomoth, Dugtrio, Persian, Primeape, Arcanine, the first legendary Pokemon of this generation, Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, and Victreebel. I think those were all obvious. Then, Machoke and Machamp, Tentacruel, Ponyta, Rapidash, Slowpoke, Slowbro, Magneton, surprisingly Dodrio, then Dugong and Cloyster. We've seen consistently that Pokemon that can deal damage while also inflicting status, for example, fire Pokemon using Ember, have a very good shot of getting through. If we can stall out his team, for example with the Bulbasaur line using Leech Seed and Growl, we could get through. Super effective moves are, of course, a big boon, but in the case of Dodrio, it was really just a matter of ranges with Fury Attack. It was really incredible to watch that run. Today, we're going to move on to a bunch of new challengers that I think will be the strongest pack so far. Look at the power here. We've got the Gastly line. they can't be hit by anything except Bide that Brock uses with his Onix. We have our own Onix today, so we'll see if Brock's Ace can be used against him. Drowzee and Hypno. Drowzee probably won't be very good, but Hypno will probably start off with a good moveset. Krabby and Kingler, I think, are going to have water moves. If I recall correctly, they start with Bubble. They're going to plow through Brock if that's the case. Voltorb and Electrode. Voltorb, again, I'm not very confident, but Electrode, I think, will have Sonic Boom. And if it does, just like Magneton, it's going to get through Brock with no issues, I think. Exeggcute and Exeggutor are going to be probably the most interesting runs today. And then finally, we're going to have Cubone, Marowak, and Hitmonlee to round us out. I think today might be the time where we break through our previous best of 9 of 15 getting through. Today, we might just be looking at 10 or more getting through. So without further ado, let's get into the challenge here. So, let's go ahead and fire up our game and get our first Pokemon, which will be Gastly today. Now, Gastly and its whole line really are going to be some of the best candidates to get through on minimum battles. I think that Gastly in particular, among first stage evolutions, is going to be just a powerhouse in this game. Think about Gastly. It has arguably one of the best early game typings by being a ghost type. So many early game Pokemon only know normal type moves. And the fact that they only know normal type moves means that they're not going to do anything to Gastly. I mean, Bide is a bit of a glitch where it's normal type, but it can still hit Gastly, but really, everything else can't hit him. So, right here, against the Eevee can use Tackle all day, and it's not going to do anything to us. So we can just use Nightshade until we take that Eevee out. And of course we see our perfect DVs pop in there. But we don't even have to worry about really any of these Pokemon. The only Pokemon that we actually have to worry about is going to be Onix, and that's because of Bide. We just have to avoid taking damage from Bide. Anything else that we do is going to lead to a win. Eevee can't hit us. Caterpie in Viridian Forest can't hit us. Geodude, which usually is the big hurdle here. Geodude, of course, in this version, only knows Tackle. And because it only knows Tackle, it actually walls a lot of Pokemon because it's just doing damage every single turn. But Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar, that's not an issue, right? They're just gonna sit there and not take any damage, and we can use Lick, we can use Confuse Ray, we don't even have to use Nightshade against Brock there. Like, just for Brock, this is obviously a cakewalk. But think about even later in the game. What gym leaders are we actually scared of? Basically Sabrina, right? And we don't have to fight Sabrina until we've pretty much done everything else. Like, we can go all the way through Blaine, through Sylph Company. Of course, we have to beat Sylph Company before we beat Sabrina, but we can do Koga, Erica. They're not going to be very effective against us. We have high special, so even, Misty or Lieutenant Surge aren't that scary, really. And same for Blaine, as long as we get to a reasonably high level. So this one, actually, I think, is going to be one of the easiest runs in the entire game. So here we are. We've got Gastly against Geodude, and really, I mean, against Geodude, who cares what we use? Let's just spam Lick and take it out, right? So there we are, and we outspeed Onix So basically, if it doesn't just start using Bide at the beginning of the battle, easy cakewalk run there. So Gastly, as expected, there's no problem. And that kind of brings me to talking about today's Pokemon, because of these 15, so many of them have such a huge advantage against Brock that really I think that we're going to get through with at least 10 Pokemon today. We've had some runs in the past where it seemed like that would be the case, but today I really think we're going to get it. Here's the reason why. The first 3 Pokemon, of course, are going to get through. The Gastly, the Haunter, and the Gengar. Then, Hypno most likely is going to know a special type move, like Confusion. I haven't checked what its moveset's going to be, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to have a moveset similar to that. Krabby and Kingler, I believe, start with Bubble. And if they start with Bubble, we've already seen that Bubble is a perfectly fine move against Brock because of its 4 times effectiveness. So we don't really have anything to worry about there. So already we're talking about 6 Pokemon. Then the last 3 Pokemon, Cubone, Marowak, and Hitmonlee, are all going to have super effective moves because the Cubone and Marowak are at least going to have Bone Club, and Hitmonlee is going to have Jump Kick. So then, Electrode, if it has Sonic Boom, will be able to get through. We've already seen that with Magneton. And probably Exeggutor can get through. I'm not sure what its moveset's going to be. It's likely not going to have any super effective moves, but it may have Hypnosis and Stomp, and if it has those, we may be able to finagle a win there. So really, the only Pokemon that I'm not confident in getting through today are Drowzee, Voltorb, Exeggcute, and possibly Onix. It really just depends on what our Onix's moveset is. If it just starts with Tackle and Screech, I'm not too confident. If it has Bind, then I think we can get through, because really all we have to do at that point is avoid taking a lot of damage against Geodude by binding, and then just outplay Brock's AI when it comes to the Onix fight, which is going to be luck-based. We're probably going in at a lower level with Onix, but if we start off with only Tackle and Screech, I'm much less confident, because I think we'll take too much damage from the Geodude. Even if it's only doing 1 damage per turn or something like that, it's still just not going to be great in that spot. Here we are with Haunter back at Brock, and I think we just take the same strategy. I think we really just can just use Lick a bunch of times here just to make sure that we're safe. Then Nightshade, and then sure, it used Bide, but who cares? Like, Bide takes too many turns to actually hit us, so all we have to do is Nightshade and we're through. So that's just another absolutely easy run, and we get to move on to Gengar. So honestly, I think today's probably the easiest day in terms of playthroughs that we will have ever had, and we may not have again. When you look ahead at some of the Pokemon that are still to come, there are some Pokemon that are really powerful late game Pokemon, but probably actually can't get through Brock on minimum battles. And when I look at those Pokemon, I'm looking at Pokemon like Tauros, like Kangaskhan, Pokemon like even Rhyhorn or Rhydon might not be able to get through. It really depends on their movesets. It depends on do they have anything that can do enough damage? We're always going into Brock at a lower level. Even at the fastest level up group, we're getting to Geodude at level 8, right? So if we're level 8 against Geodude, then of course we don't really have any way to get any sort of level advantage that will help us win there. So we have to somehow make up that difference by doing more damage to the Geodude than it's doing to us. We found that moves like Ember can work out because Brock always uses a retroactive full heal when he takes status. So a move like Ember being special plus having the chance to status can result in Brock wasting turns by just healing his Pokemon. But he'd be better off just sitting there and attacking us. And that strategy basically stalls him out enough that we're able to get through, plus burns lower his attack. But we saw with Nidoqueen, Body Slam, paralyzing Brock and causing him to waste turns was more than enough to get through as long as we have a decently powerful move. Rhydon and Rhyhorn, though, I think are going to start with moves like Horn Attack or Fury Attack, and in and of themselves, that's probably not enough. We saw with Beedrill. Beedrill had Fury Attack, and it just couldn't get through. It just didn't have enough damage output to get through Brock. Even Pokemon like Fearow, right? Fearow has Fury Attack with a stab bonus, and still just wasn't enough to be able to get through Brock. Dodrio actually managed to make it work though, so it's not that that's impossible, but it's definitely on the cusp at least. So here we've got Gengar against Geodude. I think the strategy remains exactly the same. There's not really much to say. Okay, he used Bide. Okay, and Confusion got him out of Bide, so there we were able to get through, and again, we get through without taking any damage. The ghosts are just too OP in this version of the game. Like, I can understand why they didn't put more ghost Pokemon in the first generation, given that the way that it actually panned out, Ghost really just had no weaknesses, and it was only because they made them ghost poison types that they actually had a weakness in this version, it seems. So, anyway, that's a good run. We're 3 for 3 so far, and now we come to the first Pokemon that I think actually is worth some intrigue, if you will, looking at its moveset. What is Onix going to know at level 5? Is Onix going to be able to outspeed Geodude, etc.? So we just really have to see what we start off with here. Okay, so we have our Onix, and we start with Tackle and Screech. So I'm not super excited about this moveset. Of course, we can just Screech 3 times against Eevee and take it out. The Eevee and Caterpie, of course, are not going to be issues here. Screech does have the advantage of lowering defense by 2 stages. And that may be what we have to rely on against the Geodude. Of course, Geodude has no way of lowering our defense. And Onix has awesome defense, it just has terrible HP, which is why it's always kind of a low-tier Pokemon, even though it looks super cool. In Generation 1 Pokemon, like a Rock Snake is one of the coolest looking Pokemon ever, but it just wasn't viable, at least in competitive formats, because its huge defense stat is completely negated by its terrible, terrible HP and its typing. In Gen 1, every opposing team is carrying ice moves. A lot of those ice move Pokemon also can carry water moves. So you just end up in a situation where your typing completely negates any edge that you might have had on the opponent. But it's possible that here in the early game, it's just enough to get us through, and then we're really going to have to see what happens against Misty. If we can get through Brock, one advantage that we will have is that before fighting Misty, we could get the Dig TM, which would give us a stab move that is fairly powerful. So this one's going to be interesting. We already saw Geodude, Golem, Graveler could not get through, but they did not have a move like Screech. So let's take our first battle against Brock and see what we can do. I definitely think that we want to get 3 Screeches off, and then we just have to start trying to do damage. And this looks like it's going to be pretty consistent to get through Geodude, as long as we don't miss a bunch of times. We're at level 8, okay? And it looks like, probably because of perfect DVs, okay, it's going after us when it uses Bide, at least. There may be some speed tie shenanigans going on here. Okay, that was pretty close, but we just didn't quite get through. So let's try Screech 3 times against Geodude again, and then here it's just a matter of tackling it down. Hopefully we don't have too many misses or anything like that. We don't actually want crits at this point either. Okay. We definitely want to Screech his Onix 3 times. One of the big issues here is that his Onix knows Bind, which we do not. Okay. And there it binds us down. We're getting pretty darn close here though, so there's certainly no reason to panic, no reason to stop this run at this point. We just gotta keep trying to grind through. Okay? I mean, the Geodude is incredibly consistent. Okay? We seem to be getting a lot of misses with our own tackles here, which is pretty annoying. Okay, and that was enough to take us out. So it seems to depend a little bit on the speed of his Onix and misluck, really. So here, that's the highest HP that we've gotten through with, and apparently we're both just using Screech on each other. Okay. Like, we really hate to see that bind, because bind locks us in for several moves, several turns. We like it using Screech. And there we go! Onix gets through on minimum battles by using a good combination of Screech and Tackle. And the reason really that it was possible is because of the fact that Onix is rock type and thus resists normal type attacks. We saw in the first couple runs we were getting that Onix all the way down into red health, so it really was just a matter of, is he going to use Screech or miss with Bind enough times to get us through? But that's pretty awesome. We are through with another Pokemon. The first 4 have gotten through, and I think we can safely say now that we're at least getting through with 10, and this is probably going to be the best set of runs that we've had so far. Now, Drowzee, I think, is going to put a damper on that. I really have to see what its starting moveset is, but for some reason I think that it starts with like Pound and Disable. And if that's the case, then we're going to have a tough time. We need Confusion to be able to get through Brock. A move like Pound really just doesn't do anything for us here, because it's resisted, and it's not a very powerful attack to begin with, so I'm not super confident in this run. I'm hoping that the Hypno will give us a much better setup to be able to get through. So let's just check. Pound and Hypnosis, okay. Not Disable, Hypnosis. Now that is quite a bit more interesting, because if we can get good luck with Hypnosis, which we've already seen before with some other moves, good luck with a status move here really means getting the status off 6 times in a row. So if we can start off the Geodude with like 6 Hypnosises hitting, we may be able to actually put it asleep enough turns to be able to get ahead on the damage count, and then subsequently we can use Hypnosis again and again in order to keep it kind of stalled out there. And then it comes down to Onix. Do we have Hypnosises left for Onix? Are we able to do enough damage to Onix? Sleep can be incredibly broken in this generation. It can last anywhere from 1 to, I think, 7 moves. And it has the advantage that in this generation, a Pokemon takes a whole turn to wake up. So it's just because it wakes up doesn't mean that it can turn around and immediately attack us, which is good in this sort of situation. Because we'll almost certainly outspeed the Geodude, and thus be able to keep using Hypnosis on it in order to try to get through. Caterpie, I don't think there's any point using Hypnosis, just knock it out with Pound. But the real issue is going to be that Hypnosis is not terribly accurate, and Geodude is going to do decent damage against us, I guarantee it will. So let's try it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get some Hypnosises off. Okay, that's 1. That didn't work. And as we see, he's doing 6 or 7 damage every time he hits us. That's 4 Hypnosises, 5 Hypnosises, 6 Hypnosises. Okay. And now it's staying asleep for a lot of turns. Okay, we get Hypnosis off. Oh, why did I use Hypnosis again? That was a wasted turn. Okay, we've got it asleep again. And we missed that Hypnosis. Okay. Looks like I failed to save in front of Brock, so that's fine. We'll go back. Make sure that it's saved this time. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's take another shot at Brock here, and we really need the Hypnosis luck here. Okay, it's 2, it's 3, and we couldn't even get him off. Hypnosis just isn't that accurate, and that's kind of the issue here, is that we need to get like 6 Hypnosises off that actually connect. And then we can start doing damage. And then we still need him, when he wakes up, to take Hypnosis again. So this is one of those where we can never really say that this battle is going to be impossible, at least not yet. But we can see that it's going to take a heck of a lot of luck to get 6 Hypnosises off in a row without taking damage. Okay, that's pretty nuts that he missed twice there. Okay, and now he's asleep. We're on about half of our HP. Okay, that's another good Hypnosis. That's another good Hypnosis. And he missed. Okay. He immediately woke up from that Hypnosis. And then we just ran out of luck. So, I mean, really, we only last like maybe 5 turns of taking damage here. So, the question is, can we get him asleep and keep him asleep long enough to be able to get through? We have 20 Hypnosises to use, but it's all about luck, really. Okay, come on. We need one more Hypnosis to connect, and it didn't. Okay. Okay, that's a good one. 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 There we go. He's asleep. Oops, that was a miss. Click. Oh man, we were on our best run there too. Okay. He's back asleep. And we just couldn't get through that one. Oh man. Okay. We're on about as good a run as we've had. Okay, he's back asleep. Man, what I would give to have Dream Eater right now. Okay, we can probably take 2 more hits before we're knocked out. And we missed. So, I think we can see the issue right here, which is that I can't say that this run is completely impossible, but the luck that would be required to get through with Drowzee would be so insane. I mean, we'd be grinding here for hours, weeks, months, days. It's just not a good experience for playing a Pokemon game. And definitely it's something that we could look at, probably using the emulator to save state, and then, you know, once we get a good move and a good turn, then we immediately save state and reload the state every time that we miss, but that's not really what we're looking for here, right? So we're looking for something that can be consistent at minimum battles, or at least consistent enough to get us through in a reasonable number of attempts. We've had other Pokemon that seemed like they could get through if they got just the right kind of luck. Pokemon like Nidoking. We were using Thrash, we were able to get through to Onix pretty reliably. The issue was confusion. after using Thrash for 3 turns, we confuse ourselves every time. And between bad confusion luck and not having a non-damage dealing move to use when Brock used Bind, or used Bide, rather, was just killing us. Now, Hypno. I think we've already seen it. If you look just even at this battle, Hypno is going to be a very different story than Drowzee. And it's going to be a different story than Drowzee because it has confusion. We've seen this move shred Brock with Pokemon that didn't have a stab bonus on that move, right? Butterfree and Venonat, both. They have confusion, they just shred through Brock, right? So this is one of those moves that I actually think is so incredibly effective against Brock in the early game that any Pokemon that has confusion is already guaranteed to get through. It's just a matter of how many attempts it will take. Because we do damage, and it's special damage, so it's not resisted, and it also attacks the weakness of Brock's Pokemon, which is that they don't have good special. Onix has amazing defense and basically nothing in special. Same for Geodude. And on top of that, we can confuse his Pokemon, so they can miss turns by hitting themselves in confusion, which, again, is just a huge benefit to us. So, these Psychic-type Pokemon that have confusion at the beginning of the game really are going to be able to get through easily. And that's what was so shocking about Kadabra and Alakazam not starting with confusion in this game. They should be able to get through Brock, and if we were playing Red and Blue, they do start with confusion, and thus they would be able to get through. But because Pokemon Yellow added the move Kinesis into Kadabra's moveset, and basically then said that Kadabra doesn't learn confusion until level 16, it completely wrecked any chance that we would have to get through with those Pokemon here. But Hypno doesn't have that problem. Hypno, our first pure Psychic type to get through Brock. Pretty amazing. Now, Krabby and Kingler are up next, and when I was a kid, I always really liked Krabby. I thought Krabby was cool because it's a crab, but it's also an angry little crab, and I always thought that it was a cute, angry little crustacean. So I'm pretty excited for this one. I think that we're gonna have our biggest struggle here against the rival in Hope's Lab. Like, we've already seen it with other Pokemon that when they start with Bubble, it's not a strong enough move to really reliably get through the rival here. Even with Stab, we really need him to use Tail Whip too many times and not attack us, which did not happen there. So, already we actually have to reset. I thought I had saved my game, but apparently I did not, because this one I have to go back and reset. So, it's alright, we're right at the beginning of the game. We're going to be through this in no time at all, so. But that's the problem with Bubble, is that even though it's stabbed, it's just not a strong move. But it's more than strong enough for Brock, because of the fact that it's 4 times effective against his rock, ground type Pokemon. And let's make sure that we saved this time here. Okay, we just really need Eevee. You can miss, you can use Tail Whip a bunch of times, but that didn't work. as we can see, we're just not doing that much damage with our bubbles. But fortunately, Eevee just attacks randomly, so eventually this will be a win. It's just a matter of that, right? Just getting him to use moves that aren't very effective, or miss, or, you know, you can tail whip all day if you never attack us, right? We're gonna get through. So some parts of the game we're just gonna have to exploit the game's bad AI in terms of not actually having a strategy. That's one way in which I think later generations are actually harder than Generation 1. So many trainers in Generation 1 are just attacking randomly, even gym leaders, and that can really set us up to be able to win because we don't have to worry about them always choosing a super effective move, or there are cases where gym leaders that do have good AI end up using terrible moves against us because they think it's super effective when it's a non-damage dealing move. So using like agility every single turn against a poison type Pokemon, for example, or trying to use poison powder against Ivysaur, for example, where Ivysaur is poison type. It can't be affected by poison powder. But the AI says, oh, poison is super effective against grass, so I'll just use poison powder over and over again. It's one of those things that definitely is a quirk of Generation 1, but I think in later generations they've mostly gotten rid of that, right? So that's one way I'd say that later generations are harder than Gen 1, but Gen 1 is harder in the sense that they really just didn't seem to have much of a plan of how players should get through. Here against Brock, we can see it's pretty easy when you have Bubble. Krabby joins the list of very weak, cute little Pokemon that can get through Brock with no issues, and I mean, we're only at level 9 right now. We didn't gain that many levels in order to beat him. Brock is very easy with a lot of Pokemon as long as you have some strategy that allows you to get through. Even getting to him at level 6 is not actually an issue as long as the Pokemon has a good moveset against him. It's when the Pokemon doesn't have a good moveset that we run into issues, it seems like. So here we are, Kingler. Kingler in Pokemon Stadium 1 in the Pika Cup, if I recall correctly, the lowest tier cup of Pokemon Stadium, was one of those Pokemon that was actually possible to have in that game. I'm not sure exactly where, but somewhere you could catch a Kingler at level 15, and because of that, you could have it in the game. So there was like a fisherman or something that had level 15 Kingler in Pokemon Stadium, and I was always shocked that it was quite a powerful Pokemon for such a low-level Pokemon. Like we can see here that it started with Vice Grip, and Vice Grip is a much stronger normal type attacking move, and because it has Vice Grip, it's able to get through a lot of things. And this could be a very interesting Pokemon late in the game, in that it can learn a one-hit KO move in Guillotine. And one-hit KO moves are going to be very interesting for some battles like this, because yes, they have low accuracy, but as long as we can outspeed the opponent, we may be able to get through some tough battles simply by using those one-hit KO moves. Of course, it's not going to be super consistent, but imagine Krabby in the late game going up against Lance, for example, and he leads off with Gyarados. And I think Kingler can learn Thunderbolt, but it might be a situation where we'd be better off if we could just use Guillotine and one-shot the Gyarados and take it out that way. And there could be some other strong Pokemon where that is a legitimate strategy as long as we outspeed. In Generation 1, one-hit KO moves only have a chance to hit if you outspeed the opponent, so you can't do anything if you're much slower than they are. But here, against Brock, we don't need to worry about any of that because we have Bubble. And we've already seen with Krabby that Bubble is perfectly fine. Like, we don't even care that Onix used Bite because it's going to be a 2-hit KO. If it was a 2-hit KO with Krabby, it's definitely a 2-hit KO with Kingler. So, there we go. So far, we've done 8 Pokemon, and 7 have gotten through. When you add to that Cubone, Marowak, and Hitmonlee are basically guaranteed to get through this challenge today, I think, folks, we're looking at our very first set of Pokemon where really it's already decided that we're getting through with more than 10 of them, which is pretty awesome because at least for this set of 15, Brock on minimum battles isn't really a challenge. Voltorb is not in that category. I'm pretty sure that we start out with Tackle, maybe Screech. If we have Sonic Boom somehow, then of course this is going to be a cakewalk, but I don't think it learns Sonic Boom until it levels up. And one of the other issues with the Voltorb line is going to be that it doesn't have a great moveset. So, like here we're using Screech to get through Eevee, that's fine, but by the time that we set up 3 Screeches on Geodude, we're already going to have taken 3 hits from Geodude. And, I mean, Voltorb is not an incredibly strong defensive Pokemon. It doesn't have great HP. It doesn't have any sort of advantage, really, to tank hits from Geodude. So even with us using Screech 3 times, I don't think that this is going to be possible. We'll find out, but I think within 1 or 2 runs, we're probably going to be able to see, does it look like we have a shot or not? That does seem to be fairly consistent, that we can see with a lot of Pokemon that in 1 or 2 turns, okay, this is going to be possible, or this is not going to be possible. And really then, it's just a matter of, okay, if it does look like it's going to be possible, if there's something where we're getting damage in a good range, then maybe we can repeat, but if it doesn't look possible, we can give up pretty quickly and just move on, because why waste time with a Pokemon that has no shot? So Voltorb, I think, is going to be one of those. But speaking of Electrode and Voltorb, even if they can get through here, one of the issues that they're going to have later in the game is their movesets, because they don't have great movesets. They don't really have any sort of coverage moves. Okay, so that's 3 Screeches, and we can see that already there we're pretty much down to just taking a bunch of damage from the Geodude. We can see that 1 Screech doesn't lower defense enough. Let's just try 2 Screeches to see how that looks, and see again there. We're just not going to be able to get through this Geodude. Screech is not going to he's not going to lower his defense enough to allow us to get through in the 2 or 3 turns that we have available to us after using the Screeches, and thus we would be relying on Geodude to miss like 50 times in a row. Not really how we get through these challenges here. So, unfortunately, Voltorb is our second Pokemon out today. But good fight, Voltorb. Electrode up next. Whether Electrode's going to be possible or not is really going to depend on what moves it has, other than what Voltorb already knew. If it has Sonic Boom, we're going to be in the clear for this section of the game. If it doesn't have Sonic Boom, we are going to really be hurting when we get to Brock. That being said, if it can get through, I think it's going to have a tough time, like I said, because when we get to Giovanni, and there we can see we do in fact have Sonic Boom, but when we get to Giovanni, Sonic Boom is not going to be that useful, right? It's only going to do 20 damage, and his Pokemon can definitely stand up to a lot more than 20 damage. We don't have any way of learning any super effective moves against Giovanni. If my memory serves correctly, the only real attacking type moves that we can learn with Electrode are normal and electric type moves. Some of its most powerful moves, like Explosion, of course, can't be used in a single Pokemon playthrough, so we don't have any advantage there, and that means that we're going to have to really think about this a bit more. We could come into some Bide or Mimic strats, especially given that Dugtrio, while it's a fast Pokemon, is not going to outspeed a perfect Electrode. A perfect Electrode is like the fastest Pokemon in the game. So that will be at our disposal. So Mimic is probably going to have to be part of the late game strategy. Bide, I'm not sure, because the problem with Bide is that we don't have enough bulk, I think, to be able to actually take hits and then dish out enough damage, especially once our opponents have 5 or 6 Pokemon that we have to go up against. That's probably not going to be possible. Mimic will make a lot more sense because, for example, against Giovanni, if we can Mimic Earthquake off of the Dugtrio, then we could have a highly effective move against the rest of his team. Of course, that's dependent on us getting there in the first place. We're going to have challenges against Erica. Koga and Blaine are not going to be cakewalks. But at least for right now, we are able to get through with Electrode on minimum battles through Brock. Let's move on to, I think, the 2 most interesting Pokemon of today's set, which is Exeggcute and Exeggutor. Now, Exeggcute, usually you don't get till the Safari Zone, and so usually it's at something like level 25. So what its moveset is going to be here at level 5 is something I'm very interested to see, because of course Barrage I expect, and Barrage is not a great move, but it does hit multiple turns. And then I think it might have Hypnosis. We just have to find out what we've got here. So yeah, Hypnosis and Barrage. We've already seen with Drowzee that Hypnosis doesn't necessarily do enough to help us out here. Barrage is not a strong move. We would just be hoping to get enough hits with the Barrage that hopefully we could take out Geodude in a reasonable number of turns. That will be the one advantage that we have against Drowzee, is that Drowzee was using Pound, which only did like maybe 1 or 2 damage per turn, whereas Barrage could do, let's assume that each hit does 1 damage. We could still end up doing 5 damage per turn, max. And if you couple that with Geodude being asleep multiple turns, maybe this will be possible. That's a big maybe though. And then Exeggutor. What's Exeggutor going to start with? That's really going to determine whether or not this is a good run, but if Exeggcute can get through, we would feel pretty good about Exeggutor. Exeggutor could be a good late game Pokemon in that it will have access to some pretty good moves. It has the psychic typing that definitely can help out as well. Apparently our speed is so slow that we can't run away from Pidgeys here in the forest, so we will use a potion to heal up before going up against the Caterpie trainer, and we will save one time just in case. There we go. Barrage can miss, it looks like, and misses reasonably often from the looks of it, so I think we're safest by putting the Caterpie asleep. There we can see Caterpie took us out. So we really do need to use Hypnosis together with our Barrage. Barrage is an incredibly weak move. What would be really bad would be if Barrage ends up being so weak that it actually can't even damage the Geodude. We saw that with Weedle, where our attack was so weak that we actually couldn't damage Weedle. That was pretty embarrassing. Or we couldn't damage Geodude, sorry, with Weedle. And that was pretty embarrassing, because I was talking up, oh yeah, we can get Poison off and get Brock to waste turns. Nope. So, here we are at Brock. We're going to save again. And I think the strategy is clear. We have to start off with Hypnosis, and we have to get Hypnosis to connect and actually put him to sleep. Okay, good. Barrage does damage to Geodude. That's good. And we do outspeed Geodude, which is also good. So, we're actually in a much better situation than we were with Drowzee because of the fact that we can put Geodude to sleep and then do more than 1 damage per turn against him while he's asleep. Come on, we need 1 more Hypnosis. Okay. There he's asleep. So this one's really going to come down to sleep luck and then how many hits we can get off. So there we couldn't get through because Geodude woke up. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Come on, 5. Come on. Stay asleep. Here we go. If we get through, this is definitely going to be one of the luckiest runs. But, I mean, Dodrio got through using basically Growl and Fury Attack. Okay, this is by far our best run so far. Seem to be getting a lot of 3-hit. Okay, and that advantage went down pretty quick. Okay, we are through Geodude. Now, Onix just takes us out. One of the issues that I'm seeing here is that by the time that we get to Onix, it looks like we use so many of our barrages just against Onix or just against Geodude, that we could run out of attack PP once we get there, and then we might be reduced to using Struggle, and that would not be good. So we definitely need to get through with a decent amount of PP left on Barrage. So there we go. That's much better. Okay, and now he's asleep. And he took us out. So there's definitely going to be a luck element to this. Oh, there he is. He's asleep. Come on, go back to sleep. Okay. Okay, we're through Onix, or through to Onix, rather, and one of the things I've noticed is that while using Bide, Brock will not use full heals, and that could be a big benefit to us if we can get the ranges here. And it seems like the whole situation here. Ah, we got so close. We were using Struggle at that point. Basically, if we can get Brock to use Bide and then get a Hypnosis off while he's using Bide, we can then use our attacks, and really it seems like he only will then turn around and unleash energy based on the number of turns that he wasn't asleep, which means that we can actually use Barrage while he's sleeping without worrying too much. So everything about this battle is incredibly luck-based. There we're through. Okay. Like, we kind of want him to use Bide against us. Okay. And now he's just legitimately asleep. And we can see that we're very close to running out of PP. And now we can only use Struggle, so that's GG. Gonna take just a couple more attempts at this, because it's not that this is completely impossible, right? We have to get through Geodude with decent health. Then we have to get the right kind of luck against Onix. But we can see that a decent amount of the time we are able to get through Geodude. It's just a matter of Hypnosis luck. This one does not look like it's going to work out for us, though. But it's also pretty clear that we need to get through Geodude with a decent amount of health, because very likely by the end we are going to be using Struggle against Onix. So let's see if we can get one more run where we get through with decent health against Geodude. Okay, it's fast asleep. And then, like, we really want to see a Bide from Onix. once we get there. Okay, that one didn't work. That's good, that's good, that's good. Miss, 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 miss. That's good. Miss. And we just couldn't get the hypnosis is off. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. He's asleep. Now we can start barraging. Okay. This one's going fairly well so far. Okay. Okay, that's what we want to see. He uses the bide. He's asleep. And now we can start barraging without really any issue because it's gonna base his damage to us on how much damage we did while he was awake. So we just need him to use Screech. Or there we go. Okay, we got it. Exeggcute is able to get through Brock using Struggle at the end, but that was a grind, my friends. That was a grind and a half. It really came down to, we gotta get through the Geodude with good HP. But we saw, probably about half the time we were getting through the Geodude. Onix, we had that really close run, and it really just came down to, okay, he can't attack us at this point. Once we get to struggle, we really just need to struggle him down. But one of the things that we can see here is that when we get to Onix, if we can put Onix to sleep while it's using Bide, it actually breaks Bide. And Bide doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Bide's supposed to gather up all the damage that we did over all these, several turns, and then deal it back to us double. But you can break the Bide chain by putting the Pokemon using Bide to sleep. Then it will only count damage from the next time the Pokemon wakes up, and we end up in a situation where instead of, we may have done 15 damage to his Onix while it was asleep, but we only did like 2 or 3 damage while it was awake, so when it deals the damage back, it's much, much less. Whew, that was a grind, but it gives me some confidence that we're going to be able to do the same thing with our Exeggutor. And that, my friends, might mean that out of 15 Pokemon, we're able to get through with 13. And if that's the case, this is going to be one hell of a good episode as far as getting through with a lot of Pokemon, and we might end up shattering my expectations. I expected that we would get through Brock with between 40 and 50% of Pokemon. I don't think it's going to be 50%, but I do think that it could be in the mid-40s, probably. Which is going to be awesome if we can do it. Then I think Misty's not going to filter out too many Pokemon. And the reason I say that is because when we get to Misty, we're going to have some advantages. We're going to have our first TM moves. We're going to have the ability to go down and go through the SSN before fighting Misty. If we can get through the Nugget Bridge and the hiker north of Cerulean, for example, and get to Bill's house, then we can gain a lot of levels, and we can even go down and finish the SSN to gain even more levels. and get the Cut HM. That might help some Pokemon. We will not be able to get Body Slam in these playthroughs because of the fact that Body Slam is locked behind an optional trainer on the SSN. So if a Pokemon doesn't learn Body Slam naturally, it's not going to get Body Slam in these playthroughs. But still, that should give us a decent chance against Misty. And then Lieutenant Surge, we don't actually have to fight immediately. We can go through a lot of the rest of the game without fighting Lieutenant Surge. Because the only thing that Lieutenant Surge unlocks for us is Fly. And, you know, he's one of those gym leaders that technically we could have gone all the way through Silph, we could have gone and fought Blaine, we could have done so many things before we actually have to fight Lieutenant Surge, which I think is a pretty big advantage for us. The fact that we can put him off. So any Pokemon that has a disadvantage against Lieutenant Surge but is able to get at least through Misty after doing the SSN basically gets to the mid-game where everything opens up and we can try a lot of things, get a lot of TMs, HMs, etc. before we actually decide that something's not possible. So that's the point where we'll probably start looking at individual Pokemon, is after Misty. The hiker in Rock Tunnel is probably going to be the big roadblock for a lot of Pokemon. But okay, we're back at Brock with Exeggutor. We can see that our moveset is exactly the same as Exeggcute. So the advantages that we have are that being an evolved form, we have higher stats, we have more HP. Exeggutor is a fairly bulky Pokemon, but the strategy really I think is going to be the same, which is we have to get our Hypnosises off on Geodude, a reasonable number of Hypnosises. Okay, he's fast asleep, that's good. Now we need good ranges on our barrages. We want to see 4 or 5 hits, not like 1 or 2 hits. Come on. Come on, stay asleep. This Geodude's not working with us as far as staying asleep. But this should be possible, right? If Exeggcute can make it work, then Exeggutor, it's just a matter of how many runs we take, basically. So that was not a very good one. Took us all the way down to 2 health. So we just need luck here. But luck is fine in a minimum battles challenge. Like, I know that there are some other Pokemon YouTubers out there. One of my personal favorites is J-Rose, and I know he loves to say, like, you know, I hate to get through a battle on luck, but luck is a part of the game. It's just, can we get the luck in a reasonable number of attempts is where I stand. So I'm not going to sit here with one Pokemon for an hour trying to get through Brock. Like, 8-year-old me would literally die trying to do that. But what I will do is use every reasonable strategy that's available to me to try to get through. And here for this one now, we can see that we've now run out of barrages. We were not getting this as good a range on barrage as we were getting with Exeggcute. And this could be bad because it looks like we're just going to run out of health too quickly. So we do need to get decent damage ranges on the Geodude. It's not just about getting the hypnosises off. Like, we do need a confluence of a couple of factors, you know, so those 2-hit barrages are not really what we're looking for. We're looking for, you know, 5 hits, 4 hits, and stringing them together, because we need enough health left, basically, and enough PP left to get through Onix. So okay. Like 3 hits are reasonably good, 5 hits are great whenever we get them. Misses are the worst. And there, he just refused to stay asleep. Like, we know it's possible. We know that it's just a matter of getting the hypnosises off and then getting a good damage range here. And the more health that we can take into Onix, the better. The more PP we can take into Onix, the better. Okay, we're through, and that's pretty good. Okay. We don't like the bind, but we do like the bide followed by the sleep, because we know that that's a strong combo, and getting a couple of 5-hit barrages off. And there we reset his timer, and there we put him back to sleep. So again, we reset the timer, and I think this could be the one that gets us through. We're struggling. Yeah, you can unleash energy, but it doesn't matter. Exeggutor is through. This is by far the best set of runs that we've had against Brock, and I'm just saving extra times to make sure that we get it, because it would be terrible to have put in all this awesome work with Execute and Exeggutor and then to reload and find out that we didn't save the game. So, this is so cool. Like, I was pretty convinced last week was going to be a new all-time high number of Pokemon getting through, and it just didn't work out. There were a lot of Pokemon that I thought stood a good chance, but then just they didn't have the movesets that we expected. I mean, especially when we look back on the Alakazam Kadabra runs, those still just completely blow my mind. If we had been playing Red and Blue, it would have worked out. But that's neither here nor there. We have a Cubone that only knows Growl? What? How do we have a Cubone that only knows Growl? What? Pokemon Yellow is so broken. Folks, I don't know what to say, but Cubone, as far as I can remember, should start with Bone Club. But here, our level 5 Cubone, all we did was use the Ultimate Pokemon Randomizer. So, this is just what Cubone is at level 5. And apparently, at level 5, our Cubone only knows Growl. So, I'm going to reset one time, just to make sure that it's not something strange going on with like our perfect DV's code messing with this setup. So give me just a second here, because I just want to make sure that this is legitimate. That Cubone should only start with Growl. Because that is very strange to me. I'm pretty sure Cubone's first move is supposed to be Bone Club. So let's just make sure that there's not something strange going on with our perfect DB's code, like messing up our Cubone, because that could be possible. And if it was possible, then I would need to go back and look at a couple of the runs, but no. There are no codes in, that we're not using any Game Shark, anything here. We only have Growl. That is ridiculous. But I think that means one thing, folks. Cubone already is out of there. There's no way that we can beat Brock with a Cubone that only knows Growl. That much I know for a fact, because we've had Pokemon that knew Growl. Spearow knew Growl. Fearow knew Growl. Growl, in and of itself, just lowering the damage done by the opponent is definitely not enough to get through. Against the rival, we're not going to be able to get through, and it auto-heals us after the rival fight, so when we get to the Caterpie, again, we're not going to have really any good way of depleting all of our Growls. So that's it. That's basically the run right there with Cubone. Oh, this game is so stupid sometimes. Like, what kind of moveset is that? And at what level does it learn Bone Club then? I'm really confused. So hopefully Marowak does not have that same issue. Otherwise, this could be a repeat of Kadabra and Alakazam, where what is obviously a move that the Pokemon should know right at the beginning turns out to not be a move that knows. Oh, and apparently our Marowak is a ghost here. Professor Oak, being a professor, he can catch ghosts. Okay, Bone Club and Tail Whip, which makes a lot more sense. And let's just make sure that our perfect DVs are in. Yes, they are. So I'm at a loss, guys, about that Cubone. Like, why doesn't Cubone start with Bone Club? I'm pretty sure that's like one of its basic moves, but apparently just not in Pokemon Yellow. Growl I expected it to know, but that's where Marowak becomes kind of interesting. Why doesn't Marowak know Growl? But that may just be based on what moves they wanted Marowak to know when it gets to the Lavender Tower, the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, where you face Cubone's mother. But that is what it is. Speaking of, there is a Pokemon theory that Cubone and Marowak are actually Kangaskhan, wearing skulls on their heads, that maybe a Cubone whose mother dies will go and wear a skull on its head. And then as it grows up, it becomes a Marowak instead. Maybe the skull stunts its growth or something. You know, I saw a whole video on this where somebody was arguing that, well, because the size of the Pokemon is different, that clearly it means that they can't be the same, but you actually see this in animals like hermit crabs, for example. But you could also see this in humans, like the weird Indo-China ladies that wear rings around their neck, for example, that by constricting the growth of bones, with a covering, you can alter body shape. So it's perfectly reasonable to think that maybe if a Cubone was wearing a skull of a Kangaskhan on its head, so the baby of Kangaskhan is wearing a skull on its head, that maybe, just maybe, that could result in it having a stunted size. Who knows, right? Anyway, we are at Brock. We have Marowak, and we have Bone Club. And Bone Club is stab and super effective, but guess what? We didn't get through. So, let's try a Tail Whip, and let's try to not miss. Okay, that worked. Now we're gonna Tail Whip. We're gonna let him unleash energy, and then we are through. Marowak is gonna be a Pokemon that can get through, but I'm not confident against Misty. Which I can say the same thing for Onix. Onix got through, but Misty is gonna present a serious challenge to them. These are Pokemon that absolutely are gonna have to get big. They're going to very likely have to go through the SSN before they have a chance against Misty. We might even have to use up rare candies in order to get through. All of which will be possibilities when we get to Misty. We'll have the ability to have a couple of rare candies when we get to Misty. We'll have a few TMs, Mega Punch. I don't think we can get Rest or Body Slam on the SSN, unfortunately. So, yeah, that could be an issue, but Double Kick, boom, we're through. Right there, no problem. But, yeah, Misty could be trouble for them. The one other advantage that we get is that Brock's badge gives us the badge boost in attack. And it could be possible that if we can learn any sort of status increasing move, but I don't think either of them will get anything before that. But there could be eventually some badge boost glitch shenanigans that come in. But I think their real best chance is going to be to play through the SSN to get the Dig TM, and then to use Dig on Misty while being at the highest possible level that they can, and then we might expend a couple rare candies if that still doesn't work. But it really just comes down to, will Starmie use Bubble Beam on them? Which, I mean, Starmie is an incredibly strong Pokemon for the early game. Like, it is a Pokemon that we don't necessarily want to see. We're going to use Meditate a bunch of times because Double Kick is not going to be particularly effective against Caterpie, but with Meditate, with the ability to increase our attack, we will in fact be able to get through. Ow! Why did I do that? Okay, let's see if we can just die here against the Junior Trainer, because that was not intended to fight the Junior Trainer, but okay, we just used Meditate and died. So we got no XP from that. We did lose our money, but it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. So here, let's use a couple of Meditates and then Double Kick, or should we just go straight into Double Kick? We critical hit on the first Double Kick. Okay, so it's a 3-hit KO like that. Sorry, this is just a matter of finding the best strategy here. So, one Meditate gets us through, and yeah, you can use Bite, doesn't matter. There we go. We have gotten through with Hitmonlee. Not an incredibly surprising result, But that will do it for today, and today was the best set of runs that we've had so far. Only 3 Pokemon were not able to get through Brock, and we have some pretty strong contenders here, provided that we get through Misty and we can get to the mid-game where our movesets are going to open up, our TM possibilities are going to open up. Gastly, Haunter, Gengar are pretty much shoo-ins to be able to get through this kind of challenge. They just have so many advantages, and really we're worried about Sabrina a little bit. We're a little worried about Giovanni when he can use some ground type moves against us. But outside of those two, there aren't a lot of Pokemon that really scare the ghosts. When we get to Hypno, of course it's going to learn moves like Psychic, it's going to learn a lot of special type moves, that's going to help it out. Exeggutor in the mid-game is going to be a beast. We already know that it's one of the best Pokemon in Gen 1 meta. So it's really going to be about its level up rate. It's a slow level up Pokemon, so that might not work out in a minimum battles setting. So that could be something that we run into. Points where we've leveled up as much as we possibly can, and there's something standing in our way that we can't get through. Marowak will be interesting. Kingler and Krabby we'll just have to see, and Hitmonlee really has as good a chance as any fighting type. I mean, it's going to be able to use really strong fighting moves with high jump kick, which doesn't actually deal that much damage when we miss. So overall, a pretty good set of Pokemon getting through. So that will do it for today's episode, episode 7. We have 3 more episodes against Brock before we move on to the Misty section of the run. And next time, we're going to be picking up with Hitmonchan. We're going to get Lickitung, which Lickitung I believe has Wrap, which is going to be awesome to see. Coughing and Wheezing. We'll see if we can get our first kind of pure poison types through, except for Arbok, which also used Wrap strats to get through. Then we get Rhyhorn and Rhydon. 2 rock-type Pokemon, good defense, good overall stats, but will they have anything that helps them against Geodude to get through without taking excessive amounts of damage? Chansey, that's going to be a tough one. Chansey, if it has Soft Boiled though, it could legally heal against Brock, and that could be a difference maker there. Tangela is a pretty bad Pokemon. Kangaskhan, we'll have to see how it does for the normal types. But let's see. So we got Hitmonchan, Lickitung, Coughing, Wheezing, Rhyhorn, Rhydon, Chansey, Tangela, Kangaskhan. Next we get Horsey and Seadra, which Horsey starts with Bubble. So I think it's going to be more of the same with Krabby. And Seadra, being its evolved form, probably going to get through. Goldeen and Seaking. Now, Goldeen only starts with Peck, if I recall correctly, and Peck is not going to do enough to take advantage of its typing. It's just a random water Pokemon that knows a flying type move. Why? But so that one I'm not too excited for, but I think that Seaking will get revenge for that. And then finally, we're going to have Staryu and Starmie. Staryu, I'm pretty sure, only starts with Tackle. If it does start with Water Gun, it's going to do fine. But if it only starts with Tackle, we're going to have a lot of trouble. Starmie, on the other hand, it's a Stone evolution. It's probably going to start with a different moveset. If it can have Water Gun, we're going to have an easy time getting through. So it's just a question of what our starting movesets are with those Pokemon. We'll get them next time and find out. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed today's content, like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know which Pokemon of the remaining 45 that we have to play through do you think are going to be able to get through Brock? We're already 106 Pokemon in to this challenge. So we don't have a whole lot more before we move on to the Misty split. We're currently sitting around 47-48% of Pokemon getting through Brock. Do you think that's going to go up or down? Let us know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.